and welcome to today's live reading from The Bow, Her Three Immortals, Book 3, by Hazel Storm, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1, Vanessa. The joy of sleeping in Gray's arms in the clock tower penthouse is cut short when I'm yanked off the bed and hit the floor, hard. Something scrabbles at my ankle, flaps a hot breeze over me, and 4 small feet land on my head. PK? I've got to be dreaming. I sit up, almost unbalancing my winged headdress, and realize it's awful hot around here. A fountain of molten fire spurts and falls into a lava pool, lighting the surrounding cavern walls of glimmering black rock. Where the hell am I? I'm on a rough carpet the color of blood, hopefully not blood. The runner leads from where I sit, legs folded tightly against my naked chest, across the vast chamber to an impressively shiny black throne. The cavern is mostly empty, save for a few bare-chested guards holding scythes and a few similarly clad attendants with not quite as impressive pecs. On the throne sits a woman I suspect I should be very afraid of. By the way her flame-red hair floats around her head like it's underwater and on fire at the same time, it's just so weird that I'm tempted to giggle. This is a dream after all, isn't it? All finished having fun with my son, are you? The woman asked, sounding more than a little irritated, her voice carrying the earth-shaking undertones of an immortal. Make that a seriously pissed off immortal. Suddenly, I get this really bad feeling I'm not dreaming, and this woman is Gray's mother, and she's having a really bad hair day. Add that to my naked state, and could this get any worse? I will protect you, Vanessa, Gray said. Famous last words. Where the hell is he? And more important, where the hell am I? In hell, obviously. But not Elysium, the place where Gray said he could protect me. This location has a certain Tartarus edge to it, with the lava features and a much more pungent brimstone odor. The sights definitely add an element of deadly to the decor, come to think of it. I rub my head, dislodging my hairpiece. PK flutters her giant moth wings into the air and comes down to land on my ankle, adding a little cover to my butt-naked form. Not that my ass is any better concealed, but that part of my anatomy isn't facing the queen of the underworld. Fortunately, her minions have pinned their gazes elsewhere. Blinking sleep from my eyes and still not 100% sure I'm awake, I smile, wave, and say inadequately, "Hi." Steam doesn't quite hiss out of her ears, but neither does she look impressed by my response. Gray said his mother's power was strongest in her throne room, and this was an extremely good reason not to visit her there. Given this lady is sitting on the throne, I'm guessing this is the place he was dead set on avoiding. Not that I was given any choice in this matter. Adonis's vessel, the lady with the weird hair says scathingly. There is that. However, I take exception as being referred to as a vessel, especially by another woman. The temptation that talked Zagreus until breaking his covenant. Her voice isn't loud, but sends a shockwave through the room that agitates the lava fountain and pricks the hairs on my arms. I assume by covenant she means Gray's vow of abstinence, which technically I didn't talk him into breaking, even if I participated in its termination. The bringer of color, she grinds out, to Zagreus' city. I can't think of a single reason why bringing color to a place is a bad thing. And the producer of illegal substances in the underworld. Okay, what the hell is she talking about? I've never so much as touched illegal substances, let alone produced them. I shake my head at the queen in confusion. What? She leaps to her feet, hands fisting. Cookies! She yells, making the air quiver as if it's as terrified as I probably should be, and would be if I weren't so annoyed at being unjustly accused of manufacturing drugs. The guards on either side of her jump to attention and adjust their scythes. Okay, so now I'm afraid because I'm very attached to my head and don't want to lose it. The queen relaxes her hands and looks her nose down her nose at me. If I didn't have a use for you, you'd already be obliterated. Good to know. Okay, Gray, now would be a really great time for you to show up and defend my ass before your mother executes her single-use plan for it. He doesn't answer. Use? I foolishly say because my question makes her smile, and that can only be a bad thing. She flips her wrist, and a glass vial with a cork appears on her palm. I require a minion to go to the overworld and fill this vial with water from a so-called Waterfall of Youth. Make sure you take it from the source at the top of the waterfall. That is very important. Waterfall of Youth? Sounds familiar. Rafe's mother had such a thing, but that can't be what the Queen is talking about. Can it? Back to the task, Vanessa. Okay. Once filled, you will bring this back to me. The ferryman will deliver you to the overworld and return you for exactly 1 day later. If you do not come back with him, it will mean the worst for you. Of course it will. And I'm pretty confident that worst is her preference when it comes to meting out punishment. The corked vial disappears from her hand and reappears a few feet in front of me, rolling down the possibly blood-soaked carpet. PK takes flight when she sees the approaching object, but once I pick it up, she lands again. The Queen smiles without so much of a spark of pleasure in her eyes, which are decidedly cold for such a hot place. I've included a timer on the side of the vial, so you'll have no excuse if you miss your rendezvous with the ferryman. I twist the glass container and see the digital clock displaying 24:00. Countdown starting? Now, the Queen announces. The display changes to 23:59 while I'm staring blankly at the numbers. The Queen claps sharply, snapping my attention to go back to her. All right, off you go. The cavern disappears, replaced by mirror reflections of me covered at the front by PK, but all other sides display multiple aspects of my nakedness. Meanwhile, the diamond shapes on the brushed chrome flooring are imprinting into my butt. Vanessa? Says a shocked male voice. My father's. All muscles tighten instinctively to shield as much of my skin as possible. PK flutters and lands on my knees, creating full coverage for my front. Is that a chameleon moth? He asked. Yes, finally, something I know the answer to. And she's yours? I glance awkwardly up at him. So she says. He nods, showing the first signs of approval since my abrupt arrival. Well, that will save you from some embarrassment at least. It will? I can't think how. Yes, if she's yours, she can make you invisible. I pull back my chin. She can? That's what the chameleon in her name is all about. She can make herself disappear in any setting. And if she's yours, she can be able to do the same for you. Did you hear that, PK? I ask. Disappear you, she answers with a super squeaky voice, totally unlike her much lower, hungry one. Done, my father says. When I look down at myself, I can still see me and PK, but in the mirrors, we're not there. How cool is that? She's your wings, he says. Are you suggesting I can fly? No, PK answers me. Disappear you. Even if I am invisible, taking flight while completely naked does not excite me, so I'm far from complaining. A moth of invisibility sounds a heck of a lot better. It'll make sneaking into wherever this Waterfall of Youth is and snatching a vial of water from it a snap. Of course, what the Queen of the Underworld has in mind for me after that is anyone's guess. Hopefully, Gray will have realized what's going on by the time I return and will be ready to save me. A twang in my chest knocks me flat, and my sense of Gray is gone. Damn it. Guess I just passed between realms via the sticks of the betwixt. But at least it didn't tear my soul to shreds. Whatever Gray did when he pulled me back from the betwixt, with its promise of eternal boredom, strengthened our connection, maybe even made it bulletproof. The elevator rattles to a halt, and the doors open. We're here, my father announces. I stand and cross my hands over my chest while PK flaps onto my head. Where? The overworld. I'm home. I almost jump with glee, but the thought of my boobs bouncing up and down kills the temptation. Is there any chance I can see Mom and Piper? Maybe Rafe. I shake my head internally. Not with the Mad Queen watching the clock. Perhaps I can steal someone's phone and call Mom. Tell her I'm okay and warn them about Dorian. Gray said he'd take care of it, but the sooner Mom knows Dorian's a drug dealer, the better. PK hops from my head and onto my shoulder and positions herself on my back, legs clinging to my neck and shoulder blades. She flaps as I turn my head to check her out. I totally look like I have wings. All I wish for are a few clothes. I feel so exposed. Do you know where in the overworld we are? I asked my father. Fox Tower. The service elevator. You'll exit on the top floor. That's all I can tell you. But whatever the Queen wants you to do, the location you need to visit should be close by. Fox Tower. Rafe. His mother's Waterfall of Youth. I tighten my grip on the vial. What could the Queen want with a sample of its water? Be careful, Vanessa, and don't eat or drink anything while you're here, he warns. Why not? Because you're a soul. You can't take anything back to the underworld with you, including what's in your stomach. I picture vomiting my way through the betwixt, incentive enough not to let a morsel pass my lips. My father looks out of the mirrored wall at me. I'll return for you in 24 hours. Eyes back on the timer embedded near the top of the vial, I say, You mean in 23 hours and 57 minutes? Yes. Piece of cake. I mean, seriously. How long can climbing to the top of a waterfall inside a high-rise building take? Chapter 2. Gray. A tearing sensation in my chest wakes me, and I bolt up in bed. Vanessa? I look around the clock tower apartment, but I already know she isn't there. What in all the realms happened to her? I reach out through our connection and sense the barest thread. She's left the underworld. But how? Closing my eyes, I sink my face into my hands. Only one person can send a mortal out of the underworld via the twixt of the betwixt. Mother. What is she up to? And why has she sent Vanessa away? She better not try to hide Vanessa from me like she did Adonis. I'm not about to ask her, however, because going to see my mother would be like jumping into an active volcano, as close to suicide as a god can get. Currently naked, I stand, and with a wrist flip, I'm outfitted in a business suit, ready for another day in the overworld, even though it's the middle of the night. Having no way of knowing where Vanessa has been sent, I decided to return to the most obvious place, her home. I cut an opening to the overworld, but nothing happens. I try again. Same result. Why can't I leave? I shake my head with disgust. It seems I must pay my mother a visit, whether I like it or not. Chapter 3. Rafe. I don't think I can stand to watch Eros charm Lena any longer. The woman looks like she has found her ticket to heaven, while Eros plays every trick in the book. The god of lust fits Vanessa's definition of an asshole a little too neatly. Vanessa. I lean against a stone railing surrounding my mother's waterfall and turn my head up towards the night sky, where the moon filters through the square panes of the glass ceiling. How will I find you? I murmur. She's a realm away, and with our soul thread cut, I can't visit her in the underworld. Life was tolerable when I could see Vanessa in my dreamscape. Now is a vacuous nightmare of irritating social events and a career that has lost its meaning. Having had enough of this party, I wave goodnight to my mother and head for the door leading to the service elevator. Mr. Fox? I hesitate too long to pretend I didn't hear my name. I should be better at playing these games. Until I met Vanessa, I had little else to do. Now, the attention, the fanfare, all seems pointless. There's no reason for making small talk because I'm not in the market for a random woman to warm my bed. There's only one woman I want, and she's beyond my reach. Unable to escape without looking like a prick, I turned toward the voice. A blonde woman in a sapphire dress with a swath of diamonds around her neck strides toward me. Though older than I, the woman carries herself with enough youthfulness to impress. She's as stunning as her jewels, with the kind of face that could launch ships. But despite her perfect features, something warns me away. An awareness that what stands before me is an illusion. A siren? Not that I've heard of any leaving their watery domains. Though being in New York City, we aren't that far from the ocean. Is it possible one has traveled inland? I smile politely, hoping to get this introduction over so I can hop in the elevator and leave.